Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really important topic using the sources you sent us. Smart money management. How smart people actually handle their finances.
Yeah, think of this as us wading through all these articles and notes for you. Our mission to pull out the best strategies, maybe some surprising insights, the core ideas, really, so you can feel more confident about your own money situation. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. And what's really clear from these sources is that it's not just about, you know, tracking every penny. It's more fundamental. It's about making conscious decisions for stability and, well, for growth, too.
Yeah.
The potential change is pretty significant. The sources use this example, Samantha. She went from basically living paycheck to paycheck, juggling debt, credit cards, student loans, the usual stuff, to actually paying off a good chunk of that debt and saving for a vacation, all within about a year. And it wasn't luck. It was learning things like budgeting, tracking.
Yeah.
It just shows the power of understanding this stuff.
That's a great illustration. And the benefits mentioned across the board, they go way beyond just having a balanced budget, right? Oh, definitely.
We're talking financial security, reducing debt, opening up ways to invest, building wealth, and just feeling more in control, less stressed, peace of mind.
Exactly.
The sources really frame it as a path to long-term prosperity. So the big question is, what does this actually mean for you listening? These aren't just theories.
Right. They're actionable things.
Okay, so where do we start? The sources seem unanimous. Lay the foundation first. And that means setting financial goals. They say goals give you direction, motivation, the why.
Precisely. Goals are crucial, and the sources break them down nicely. You've got your short-term goals, things you can likely hit within a year.
Like what?
Building that first emergency fund cushion, maybe paying off a specific high-interest credit card, saving for a holiday, that kind of thing. Then there are the big ones, the long-term goals. These take years, sometimes decades.
Home ownership,
Yeah.
retirement.
Right. Retirement, saving for kids' education, major life stuff. And a key point is prioritizing these. You can't do everything at once, realistically. So the sources say weigh them up. Time frame, impact, what resources you actually have.
Okay.
They use this example, Alex, who's trying to balance paying down student loans, that's more short term, with saving for a house deposit, which is definitely long term. It's about making conscious choices on where the focus goes.
So goals give you the destination.
Yeah.
But you need a map, and the sources say that's the budget, your financial roadmap.
Yes, the budget is absolutely foundational. The steps they lay out are pretty practical. First, gather everything, all your income sources, know what's coming in.
Okay.
Second, list out all your expenses and categorize them. The sources make a distinction between fixed costs like rent or mortgage, things that don't really change month to month,
Right.
and variable expenses, groceries, utilities, entertainment, stuff that fluctuates. And then the really critical third step they highlight: prioritize needs versus wants within those expenses. This is often where you find the wiggle room.
Where the cuts can happen.
Exactly. There's Mia's story in there. She listed everything out, income, expenses, and just saw immediately how much was going to eating out. Realized packing a lunch was a pretty easy way to save quite a bit.
Simple changes can add up. So you've got the map, the budget. Then the sources say tracking is vital. You have to know if you're actually following the map.
Tracking is key, not just for sticking to the plan, but like you said, for awareness. Understanding your actual habits, that's a powerful thing.
How do they suggest doing that?
Well, effective techniques mentioned include using budgeting apps. Mint or YNA get name checked. They can automate a lot of the categorization. Or, if you prefer hands-on, just a spreadsheet, logging everything manually. Even keeping receipts for a while can be eye-opening, reveal patterns you didn't realize were there.
Oh, okay.
There's an example of Bill, a freelance writer. He used a spreadsheet and was genuinely surprised by how many small, untracked subscriptions he had. Streaming services, apps.
Oh, yeah, those add up.
They really do. Seeing it laid out, let him adjust his spending.
Okay, so goals set the direction, budget is the map, tracking keeps you on course. Now, the sources really emphasize needing a safety net, that emergency fund.
Absolutely crucial. Its main job, according to the sources, is providing peace of mind, protection against, well, the unexpected.
Life happens.
Exactly. Job loss, sudden medical bills, your car breaking down. Stuff you can't predict. They use Sarah's example. She lost her job, but because she'd built up an emergency fund, she could cover her essential bills for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it stopped her from having to rack up high-interest credit card debt just to get by. The key benefits are right there. Avoid costly debt, reduce stress massively, and give yourself options. Flexibility.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And how do they suggest building it? Seems like a big mountain to climb for some people.
They break it down. First, set a target, usually 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses.
Just the essential.
Just the essentials, yeah. Then automate it. Treat that savings transfer like any other bill. Set it up to happen automatically each payday.
Pay yourself first.
Exactly. Start small if you need to. Even $25 or $50 a month adds up over time. And use windfalls like a bonus or a tax refund. The example of Mark shows him putting part of his tax refund straight into his emergency fund. Smart move.
Okay, safety net is vital. But what about existing debt? The sources say tackling that is just as important, maybe even more so for some people.
Definitely. Especially high-interest debt. The sources talk about two main strategies people use. First, the debt snowball.
Heard of that one. Smallest debt first.
Right. Pay off the smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate, while making minimum payments on everything else. The idea is the psychological win. You knock one out quickly, feel motivated. The second is the debt avalanche. This one focuses on the highest interest rate first.
Mathematically better.
Usually, yes. You save more money on interest over the long run. It might feel slower at the start, though. Consolidation is also mentioned, rolling multiple debts into one loan, maybe with a lower rate.
So, options there.
Yeah, and they stress the first step is just listing everything out. Emma's example shows her listing all her debts, balances, interest rates. You need that clear picture first. And prioritizing is key within whatever strategy you pick. Avalanche obviously targets high interest first, but no matter what, keep making those minimum payments on all debts.
Right. Don't let others fall behind.
Exactly. And crucially, the sources advise keeping at least a small emergency fund even while you're aggressively paying debt down. Like maybe $1,000, just so an unexpected expense doesn't force you to take on new debt.
Ah, that makes sense. Avoid backtracking.
Precisely. Tom's example shows him making bigger payments on a high-interest car loan to clear it faster, but still covering minimums elsewhere and presumably having that small buffer.
Okay, fantastic. So foundation's solid, safety nets in place, debt's being managed. Now the sources say it's time to think about growing wealth, investing.
This is where things get interesting, where your money starts working for you. The sources outline the common types. Stocks owning a piece of a company. Potential for good returns, but, higher risk.
Yeah.
Bonds, basically lending money to governments or companies. Generally seen as safer, more predictable returns. Mutual funds where lots of people pool their money, professionals manage it, invest in a whole mix of things. Good for instant diversification.
Diversification. That word comes up a lot.
It's critical. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Then there's real estate, buying property for rental income or hoping its value goes up. And ETFs. Exchange-traded funds. Kind of like mutual funds, but they trade like stocks. Often lower fees, the sources note.
So lots of choices.
Yeah. Michael's example shows someone starting simple, maybe with a mutual fund, then branching out into stocks and real estate as he learned more.
And you mentioned diversification. The sources really stress that, don't they?
Hugely. It's the whole don't put all your eggs in one basket idea. Spread your money across different types of assets, stocks, bonds, maybe some real estate,
Okay.
but also across different industries. Tech, healthcare, energy, consumer goods, and even geographically, maybe some international investments.
Why is that so important?
It reduces risk. If one sector tanks, like tech stocks having a bad year, your investments in other areas can cushion the blow. Sarah's example in the sources shows exactly this. Her diversified portfolio held up much better during a tech slump because she wasn't only invested in tech.
Got it. Spreading the risk. So, investing naturally leads to thinking long-term about retirement. The sources seem almost evangelical about starting early.
They really are. And for good reason. Compound interest. Starting early lets your money grow exponentially over time. Your earnings start making their own earnings. It's incredibly powerful.
Why is retirement planning so vital? Seems obvious, but...
Well, financial independence is the goal, right?
Hey.
Being able to cover your living costs without needing to work. Healthcare costs in retirement can be huge. And people are living longer. You need funds to support that longer lifespan.
True.
Lisa's story is the classic example. Started her 401k at 25, contributed consistently. Thanks to decades of compound growth, she retired comfortably. Starting early made all the difference.
So how do you plan for it? What are the steps?
The sources lay it out clearly. First, set goals. What kind of retirement lifestyle do you want? Where? Travel. Estimate your needs. Second, figure out how much you'll actually need. There are calculators for that.
Okay.
Third, choose the right accounts. Things like a 401k if your employer offers one, especially if they match contributions, that's free money. Then there are IRAs, traditional or Roth. They have different tax advantages.
Right. Pre-tax versus post-tax growth.
Exactly. And fourth, the most important part maybe, Contribute regularly.
Hmm.
Consistently, even small amounts add up hugely over time. David's example shows this started with regular 401k contributions, increased them whenever he got a raise. Just kept at it.
Consistency is key. Now, you can't really talk money without talking taxes. The sources stress managing those efficiently, too.
Oh, absolutely. Taxes can take a big bite if you're not careful. Understanding the basics is crucial. The sources mention things like how different income types are taxed wages, investment gains.
It's not all the same, right?
No. And the difference between deductions, which lower your taxable income, and credits, which are even better because they reduce your actual tax bill dollar for dollar.
Okay. Credits are more powerful.
Definitely. And your filing status, single, married, etc., impacts your rates and deductions too. Rob's example shows someone learning about education credits he didn't know he qualified for, which saved him money.
So how do you maximize benefits, minimize the tax bite?
Key strategies mentioned: contribute to tax-advantaged accounts like those 401ks and IRAs we talked about. That's probably the biggest one. Track your expenses carefully if you might have deductible ones, like for self-employment or certain medical costs. Take advantage of any tax credits you're eligible for, and don't be afraid to get help. The sources repeatedly suggest consulting a qualified tax professional, especially if your situation isn't straightforward.
Like freelance income.
Exactly. Alice, the freelancer example, got great insights from a tax pro on structuring things efficiently, finding deductions, and ended up with a bigger refund she could then reinvest.
Makes sense to get expert advice there. Okay, so we've covered building the foundation, the safety net, tackling debt, growing wealth. How do you keep it all going? Keep the momentum. Automation comes up.
Automation is presented as a really powerful tool. It saves time, sure, but maybe more importantly, it reduces the mental effort. Less willpower needed, fewer decisions to make daily.
Takes the friction out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sophie, the busy professional example, uses apps and platforms to automate categorization, get spending insights, makes managing money much less of a chore. How to automate.
Wow.
The sources list several ways: automatic transfers, checking to savings, checking to investment accounts. That's the pay yourself first principle in action.
Set and forget it.
Pretty much. Direct deposit a portion of your paycheck straight into retirement or savings if you can. Set up automatic bill payments to avoid late fees. Even automate your emergency fund contributions.
Sounds efficient.
James's example shows how automating transfers and bills just saved him time and cut down on stress significantly.
But automation doesn't mean completely ignoring it, right? The sources stress regular check-ins, monitoring and reviewing.
Absolutely not. Automation helps execution, but you still need oversight. Regular reviews are like a financial health checkup.
What's the purpose?
To make sure you're still on track with your goals, to see if your spending actually aligns with your budget, to check how your investments are doing. Basically, to ensure the plan is still working and relevant.
Okay.
Jessica's example shows her doing monthly reviews, checking bank statements, budgeting apps, investment accounts. It helps catch errors or discrepancies early. Key things to look at: expenses versus budget, savings progress, investment performance against benchmarks, and importantly, be ready to adjust. Life changes, right? Marriage, new job, kids. Your financial plan needs to adapt.
So revisit the goals.
Yes. Revisit goals, maybe reallocate investments if your risk tolerance or timeline changes. Update your budget for new income or expenses. Mark's example shows him adjusting his budget when childcare costs increased, keeping his overall plan intact.
Flexibility is key. Now, shifting slightly, the sources also talk about a common pitfall: impulse purchases, a threat to the plan.
A big one. Impulse buying is usually driven by emotion, not need. The sources point out common triggers. Feeling bored, stressed, or even happy can lead to spending. Big discounts create false urgency. Social media pressure, too.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. Emma's example is buying clothes she didn't need just because they were on sale, messing up her budget. So, practical tips to fight back. Create a shopping list before you go out or online, and stick to it. Implement a waiting period, like 24 hours, for any non-essential purchase over a certain amount.
The cooling off period.
Yes, gives your rational brain time to catch up. Set a specific budget for discretionary spending fund money and stick to that limit. And minimize temptation. Unsubscribe from marketing emails, maybe avoid browsing sites when you know you're vulnerable.
Sounds like good discipline.
Thomas's example shows it works. He saved more and felt less regret by using strict budgets and that cooling off period.
Another big theme seems to be financial education itself. Knowing your stuff.
Hugely important. Financial literacy, understanding budgeting, investing basics, how credit scores work is presented as vital for making informed choices.
How do you get more literate?
The sources suggest reading books like The Total Money Makeover or Rich Dad Poor Dad are mentioned, attending workshops, seminars, taking online courses, lots of resources out there. Anna's story is about going from feeling totally confused by financial jargon to confidently managing her money, all through self-education.
That's empowering.
And it's ongoing. Literacy isn't a one-time thing. The sources suggest keeping up with financial news, maybe listening to podcasts like this one, joining online communities, and actually applying what you learn. Practice makes perfect.
And protecting what you build is also covered, right? Insurance comes into play.
Absolutely. Insurance is your safeguard against major financial shocks. A fire, a car accident, a serious illness. These things can wipe out savings if you're not protected.
Like Julie's example with a house fire.
Exactly. Suddenly, that homeowner's insurance policy becomes incredibly valuable. Key types mentioned are homeowners or renters, auto, health, life, and disability insurance. Getting the right coverage is key. Other ways to protect assets. Maintain that emergency fund. It's your first line of defense. Keep diversifying investments to manage risk. Regularly review your insurance policies, especially after big life changes like getting married or having kids. Your needs change.
That makes sense. Reviewing coverage.
And estate planning comes up too, things like wills, trusts, making sure your assets go where you intend if something happens to you. Mark's story involved an unexpected medical issue causing debt, which prompted him to review his health and disability coverage annually.
Okay, nearly there. The final piece seems to be about maintaining motivation, reviewing progress, and celebrating.
Yes. Celebrating milestones is important. It reinforces good habits, keeps you motivated. Even small wins count. Jake's example shows him celebrating hitting savings goals for his down payment. Nothing extravagant, just acknowledging the achievement within his budget. It keeps morale high. You can reward yourself modestly, share your wins with supportive friends or family, or just take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. And tied to that is regularly revisiting your goals, because life changes. The sources recommend an annual, thorough financial review. Adjust goals as needed. Maybe you reach one, so you set a new one.
Looking forward.
Exactly. Maria's example. She hit her initial emergency fund target, which was great, but instead of stopping, she set a new goal saving to invest in a passion project. It keeps the journey going.
Wow. Okay, that really covers a lot of ground. From setting goals and budgeting, building that emergency fund, tackling debt, investing smartly, planning for retirement, managing taxes, using automation, avoiding impulse buys, educating yourself, protecting assets. It's comprehensive.
It really is. The big takeaway from all these sources is that smart money management isn't one magic bullet. It's a whole system, really. A journey that needs strategy, consistency, and that willingness to keep learning. But the payoff financial security, less stress, more freedom is huge.
It definitely sounds like a journey worth taking. And like any journey, it starts with a single step. So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe here's a thought for you, the listener, to mull over based on everything we've pulled from these sources today. What's the one single strategy or insight we discussed that feels like the most important, most achievable first step you could take, maybe even today or this week, to start or boost your own journey towards greater financial confidence? Just focus on that one thing for now. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.